So welcome to class today. The first part of this class today will be about, I'm just going to continue on, the theme of composition. But what I did is I took photos of certain paintings from a master. His name is Turner. And he did some grand master paintings. I saw his paintings when I went to the Tate a few years ago in London, and I was very impressed with the fact that he had painting within paintings. So I want to share that with you today. That has to do with composition. So I'm going to share my screen. I prepared this little slideshow here, and I'm going to put it in, or I'm going to try anyway, put it in slideshow mode. All right, so you should be seeing Drawing Class Composition 3. So Sue, can you go like this if you see it? With thumb up, yes? Oh, okay, I see nodding. That's good. All right, so this is called Crossing the Brook by J.M.W. Turner. This is an oil canvas, and it's a really large painting. And the reason I'm showing you this is to show you how the composition is kind of like, it's almost like a V right here. And the sky creates, there's this nice negative space that is created by the sky, along the tree here, and also this horizon line, and then the rest of the trees. And this here in the background, this area is, we know it's green and we know it's blue, but it's a grayish green and grayish blue and grayish brown. So it's all toned down because it's way in the background. And then we can see here in the foreground this little scene.
Claire, I don't see it. I don't have it on my screen.
It's very small. It's very small, Claire, to the left.
The only thing I see is Drawing Class Composition 3.
Okay. Well, thank you for telling me. So let's see. I'm going to exit the. Can you see it now?
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
So slideshow doesn't really work, I guess, is what I'm learning here. Let me do. Okay, I don't know who talked right now, but it was very muffled. Could you repeat, please? Was that you, Faye? Yeah, I can't hear what you're saying.
Okay.
Oh, now I can hear.
Oh, I had the wrong keys. I only see you on the screen right now, not painting.
Okay. And what about you, Louise? Can you see the painting?
Yes, I can see the painting fine.
Okay, let me stop the share. So I'm learning here. So I'm going to go like this and share the whole screen. See what happens there. Yes. Okay.
Yes.
Yes.
It works for you too, Louise?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm going to remute you, Louise, and now we're doing good. Thank you for telling me. Sorry about that. So now this painting, Crossing the Brook by Turner, is a painting where you can see the trees, and it creates this nice negative space around the trees. And in the foreground, there's also this little scene here that's at the bottom. So what I did on the next slide, I'm trying to get to the next slide, is, okay, hold on. This. So what I did on the next slide is this area here that is right in the middle of the painting, I did a close-up of it. And look how beautiful this photo that I took on the right-hand side. And it's almost like a painting within a painting. Because if you saw this in a museum, or if I saw this in a museum, I'd say, wow, this is so beautiful, because I was, you know, when he created this large painting, the large painting is a great composition, but every little portion of the painting is also a great composition. So you can see this this bridge going across here, and these buildings here, and also right here, this nice little area here, nice negative space created by the foreground mountains that are meeting in what you see here. And then on the next slide, I'm going to show you this portion here, which is also very interesting. So here you can see the two ladies, this one and the dog and the other lady. And so this is a scene in its own. If it didn't have the squares on it, that would help. But what I try to represent is here on the right-hand side. See this lady with the dog sitting by the water and with her reflection. So this becomes a painting within a painting. And this other here, this other lady with the dog, that's like another painting within a painting. So when going to the museum, can you see okay? Maybe if I try to zoom in a little bit. So see how you can see the lady with her reflection and the dog. And so there's mostly the dark area here in the 1/3 bottom, and then she's highlighted. So this is almost like a painting within the painting. And then if we look at the one at the bottom, this here, it's almost also like a painting within a painting. The lady and the dog, you can see there's a story there. And this is all within the big painting that I showed on the first page, this one. So see here. But at first, when we look at the big painting, it's really hard to see, to pay attention to any of what's happening here, because it's all grand. We see the tree, and we see these other trees. So when going to the museum, looking at big paintings next time, I suggest you also try to study the painting and see what's happening in these other areas of the painting. My next example that I wanted to show you, I'm going to go like this so I can show better. My next example I wanted to show you is this one. This is also by Turner. It's called the Dogado San Giorgio Citella from the Steps of the Europa. Long title, but anyway. So this painting is nice and soft. It's very soothing, and it's a grand painting again. But within this painting, I found some other paintings. So before I move on to the other paintings, see how this little boat here on the lower left, it points towards this area, and then it brings our attention over to here, which is where the center of attention would be. But all of these clouds and sky and lower buildings here in the background allows us to travel over here and then come back here and eventually come back here. So if I go to the next slide, so I did do close-ups of this section here in the middle and also this other section here on the side. I'm going to show them here. So this section here on the side, see how you have the boat here in the foreground, and these buildings in the back are so well done, even though they're all the way to the back of the plane. You can see all the detail about this tower and this other tower, and Turner was so good with reflection in the water, but this is almost like a painting within the painting, although it was right here on the side. Then the next one is the one right here in the middle. So see, I did a close-up and I only took the middle part of the painting, and even just this, gives a great composition. You have this little boat here that's pointing towards here, and then it brings the eye back to the tower, which is very well detailed. And now you can see better all the detail about this tower here. And also on the big painting, it's hard to see this little castle, but on this close-up, you can see this castle that's in the background. It's got a lot of hints of details of what's happening there, and it's just gorgeous. So as you can see, I really like Turner. I guess if you didn't know it yet, now you do. Now this is another one of Turner's paintings called Room from the Vatican, Raphael, accompanied by La Fornarina, preparing the pictures for the decoration of the loggia. Okay, so this is right here in the front. It's all dark. You can't really see very well on this photo what's happening here, but you can tell this whole section here on the right-hand side and the people on the porch here or the balcony. They're a good contrast with what's happening in the background that's in the light. And you can't really tell what's happening in the background, but I did some close-up of certain sections and you'll see it's very interesting. So I have 3 close-ups to show you. First, this larger one, and then I also want to show you some of the interaction between the people here on the front. And if you do a close-up of just this little section here, you'll find a surprise. Well, I was very surprised by this. So this big portion here, the building on the left, this gives a very interesting view of some of the paintings in the front. And then there's this nice little curve here. This building here is so well drawn. Look at the vanishing of these windows here. The roof line is very angled, and as you come down, the angle of the windows are less and less inclined all the way to the point where they actually go up instead of going down. And that's a great example of vanishing point. And the buildings are a little crooked, but I think it's the photo that I took. Sorry about that. And then there's all of this nice detail here. If you look here, these buildings here, look at all the detail that he put here. So in a big painting, you can sometimes see some nice stuff. It's nice to look at the overall painting, but it's also nice to look at some details. So here, I'm showing here this small little section that's right in the middle that we don't really see what it is. But look at this. He put all the little people in like a procession like. Isn't that interesting? And then the castle is all well detailed. And all these buildings, he did all of this detail. The buildings in them. So this is like a painting within a painting. And it's just so amazing that he took the time to do all of this. And the last one is here in the foreground. You can't really see what it is, but when I blow it up, oops. When I blow it up, see all of the, like the dress, this lady's dress, that's all wrapping here. And then there's even some jewelry here and these paintings. So he did these paintings within the painting and this painting. And here you can see the little people from behind. So I find it very interesting to find painting within a painting from a master's grand painting. And I invite you next time you go to the museum to do the same thing. After you've looked at the bigger picture, try to see if there's any kind of mini scenes that you like anywhere else in the painting. So is there any questions about this slideshow or anything that you'd like to see again?
I have a question. How big a scale, how big are these paintings in reality?
Most of them are taller than me. They are really, really big, like the
So
masterpiece.
5 feet high at least. 6
At
feet.
least, yeah. And I'm 5'3", so if
Yeah.
they're bigger than me, they would be potentially
Wow.
6. Like this one here, the big one, I think it was 10 or 12 feet across.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah. So especially on big painting, it's nice to look closely and find some little gems like this little procession of people. I thought it was very interesting. All right. So if there's no other questions about that, or if nobody wants to see anything else, don't hesitate if you'd like to see one again. Just tell me. All right, I'm going to stop the share then. Oh, Sue, you wanted to say something?
Claire, is there a modern day painter that you admire as much as this?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, there are many. One of them, his name is Charlie Mavalli. He passed away a couple of years ago, and he was a painter who lived in Rockport, and he exhibited at the Rockport Art Association in Rockport, and also the North Shore Art Association in Gloucester. And he was a writer for a long time in the art magazines. He painted a painting that became almost abstract. I should try to show you some of his work, but I don't have his work handy right now, so I can't really show you.
How do you spell it? How do you spell his last name?
Movalli, Moval. I think there's 2 L's. LLI.
Okay.
Charles. If you look for him, Charles Movalli.
Okay.
He he mostly did large paintings like 40 by 40, 36 by 36, 50 by 50. He liked the square format, and he liked to do boats. I also liked I like Emile Groupie's work, but there are many that I do like. Maybe I'll send you a list when I send the email after class. I'll send a list. Take note of that. Those who inspire me.
I'm absolutely floored at the amount of detail that are in these paintings. I mean, it's kind of hard to wrap your head around.
Yeah, and I'm not saying this is what I would do or this is what I would teach, but I like to look and bring it to your attention. Everybody is different in what they do and how they express themselves, and
Right.
I guess Turner wanted to tell a story within a story, because the painting is like a story, but there's definitely a story with this
Right.
little procession that is completely different from what's happening here in the front. So it's nice to see that. All right, so I'm gonna stop my share. Now I'm back to me. Now I'm discouraged because I forgot to record this portion of the class. Oh, well. All right, so the next part of the class is I want to give this time for you to draw. And if you have not finished the drawing from last week, now's the time to do so. If you have any questions, let me know. And if you have finished the drawing from last week, what I suggest you do is you draw the same object, but the light coming from the opposite direction. So if you had the light coming from the right, now do it from the left. Or if you had the light coming from behind, do it from the front. or, you know, so vary the light, do the same object, and you'll see that it could be completely different. And I'll show you an example.
Claire, I'm gonna push my tomato over to the left and get, I can already see the light is hitting it differently. So I think that would be fun to do.
Very good.
I'll
Very
show
good.
you my last week. It was week.
Oh, wow.
The shade underneath a little bit more. But anyway, it's an heirloom tomato.
Okay, hold on. I'm trying to.
Yeah, I know. It's probably, I don't know.
Wow. This is really nice. So the light was coming from behind.
It was a little to the right. I had the tomato to the right of the lamp. It's a shiny tomato. It's not a real one, you know, so it's probably got more shine than a real tomato.
Right, I know, but it looks, I mean, the drawing, we can really feel how round it is.
Yeah.
Now, the shadow on the table is what brings me to say, oh, is the light coming from behind?
A little bit behind and right, I think, both.
Yeah.
The lamp is a little bit behind the tomato.
Because if the light is coming from the right, then on the table, there should probably be a little bit more elongated shadow than on the left.
Okay.
I mean, on the left part of the table next to the tomato. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. Well, I'm seeing more light hitting it now by putting it to the left of that lamp.
Okay.
Anyway, so that's
Really well done. Really well done.
thanks. Mute myself.
How about you, Gretchen?
I'm thinking about what I want to do. I've done that little picture a couple times now, so maybe I'll do something different.
Yeah. Okay.
I'll go get it.
I think I'm gonna do glass face again from the other light. I love glass. I don't know why. I just do.
Glass is good. Glass is hard, though.
Very challenging.
Very challenging.
Claire, were you going to show us how to work with the eraser today?
Oh, yes, that's true. I had said I would show you that. So maybe I should do the demonstration now.
Excellent.
Okay. All right. So the secret to using the kneaded eraser to draw with, I'll do it on this one, is to first make sure that what you first draw is pretty dark. So this is my background. I'm just going to continue working on this one. And I know that over here it's pretty dark. I mean, I know that my overall hair is very dark, so I'm just making it dark. If I compare the pear with, you know, the table, the pear is very dark, much darker. So, I mean, we can still see the shape of the pear, but usually we wouldn't see the shape of the pear. I would just go dark everywhere. And using my kneaded eraser, wow, I'm looking at the pear that you guys see, and it's really nicely lit. What I see is completely different from that. So anyway, so once everything is dark like this, so Usually I wouldn't first draw the pear, I would just darken my paper. Then using the kneaded eraser, that's where I will define things. So I know that the background is a little darker than my pear on this side. So I'm going to use my kneaded eraser to define the edge. Of my pear. So when using the kneaded eraser, the name tells you how to use it because you can knead it. And you can just tap if you just want to lighten the grade that you have. Or you can use it as a regular eraser to really erase something like on this side. So over here, it's pretty light. And this whole section here is pretty light. But I can see this section here is lighter, but not so light. So I'm just going to tap to just remove a little bit, but not completely. And like this whole section here is lighter. So I'm just going to press. And by pressing, you can see now it's being defined without creating a sharp edge. Same thing down here. There's a lot of reflected light down here. Whoops, sorry. Down here on the pear. So I'm going to put that in. And by tapping, now I can remove this sharp edge. This whole area here is dark, but not as dark as the background. So I just want to tap. I press to define where the pear ends. But there is some reflection light here, but not as light as on the other side of the pear. So I'm going to put that like this. I'm just pressing. Once I've used it, I fold it again so that I can have a clean eraser again. I can go even lighter with that. This whole area here, that's a lot lighter. I can see that, but it's not completely light. Then this is actually darker than when I have it, so I can go back with my pencil, and then it comes around here. This is very light. You can also twist it to erase. This is lighter, but not quite as light as the middle part. Now my hair is starting to be shaped. By doing this whole section is a little lighter. I keep folding it and changing it. Sometimes I have to erase a little bit more but it gets to be pretty light down here before it goes dark again. So I'm gonna go like this. This is the reflected light. And I think that I made this too light, so I need a longer pencil actually. But anyway. So once I've done all of this work, then I can always come back with my pencil and make anything darker if I need to. Like, for example, this section here, the background is actually, it's funny because the background's actually lighter than the pear in that section. So here, I've got to lighten my background a little bit. And the pear has this, so now I've used my 4B. And the pear has this darkness right on the edge. All the way to here. So observation is key, of course. Just like when you paint your drawing with your pencil, you want to represent what you see. So now this 4B, I'm putting it aside to use the HB. This line, this dark line, is actually, shouldn't create a very sharp edge with what I see on the actual pear. There's this whole section here somehow. Very interesting. The hard part with doing an object that is round is to try and represent the roundness without having too many hard edges.
When do you know to throw away that eraser and get a brand new one?
Well, if it's not working anymore, then that would be a good sign, you know, Sue?
Black to me. Yours looks pretty black to me, and yet it's still working.
Yeah. See, now I've noticed that the pear is actually darker just on the edge than my background. So now I've made the pear darker, so now I can darken my background, which is pretty dark, but it's not quite as dark as my pear in this area. And then on the other side, the pear is definitely much lighter than the background. So I'm going to use my 4B, and I'm going to darken the background on the other side. So if I were doing the complete drawing, of course, I would continue this darkness, you know, all the way to cover the whole page. But I just want to show you the effect that darkening has next to the object. So look at this now. See what darkening my background. Now this whole section of the pear looks, you know, you can feel more of the roundness and it pops. Now I can also see that my pear might be a little too light. And so I'm just going to use my HB here. Especially in this area. Now using my kneaded eraser, if I find that I go too dark, then I can always come back and press to lighten it a little bit. What's great with this is it's very easy to break any kind of sharp edge. And the key to showing the speckle of light in the case of what we see on the pear, there's a long speckle of light that comes down. Well, the key to showing that is to have on either side of it, to have it much darker. So this comes, wait a minute. Here. And up here, it's actually lighter than I have it. I just tap, make it lighter. It's really magical. I love the kneaded eraser. And then as we come down here, now the background is also very dark here, so I'm gonna help this like this. All right, so we can see this light here on the pear. This portion here that is lighter, it's reflected light. But what's interesting is what we see right here under where the reflected light ends, the edge of the pear starts, and then it's a shadow. So from this angle of the camera, you see the pear right almost straight on. I see it a little higher like this, so I see a little bit more of the shadow, which is what I'm going to express here. So reflected light here, and then the pear is actually there's on the pear is almost like a very dark area here, just before it touches the table. And this dark area continues on the pear, going up a little bit here. And then we get here and it's reflected light again. So the pear is much lighter than the background. So I'm gonna go like this. With the kneaded eraser. I'm just touching it. And now you can see the edge very well. So all of this is things that you can do on your pear as long as you see it. So observation is key. Be it a pear or a vase or a glass object, that's a very good challenge. But everything has to do with, you know, what do you see? What is it that you see from your angle and the light that you have on your object? My pencils are getting very, very small because I've used them so much. I'm going to need new ones. So on this part, I can see the background has gotten darker than my pear. So up here, the pear on the edge is darker than the background. And then as we come down, it almost evens out. And then down here, it's darker. So seeing this transition is important, and then representing it is also important. I can see it's not this light here. So I'm gonna make this darker. Now that I've darkened the background, I can darken my pear. That's another thing that you can do. You can vary what you have behind your object or in front of it. And then now all of a sudden the reflected light is different. I'm going to even it out with my pencil, the edge of light. It actually gets very light, this area. Right on the edge, very light. Can also use the 4H in certain areas because the 4H will give you nice lighter pencil marks. Won't go too dark. And actually, my table is much lighter. And I have to represent my shadow correctly. Sometimes the shadow with the shadow you lose the edge of the object. It can happen. One important thing with the shadow is that as it goes away from the object, then it should get a lot smoother on the edge. If it's closer to the object, then it's okay to have a sharper edge to your shadow. You can smoothen the edge with your kneaded eraser. And sometimes there is a shadow within a shadow, like here. I'm using this kneaded eraser to shade these things. And actually my shadow is not that dark, so I'm just going to use my kneaded eraser, make it a little lighter, like so. Now that I've done that, maybe I'll go back a little bit. Oh, yeah. There. So that would be my demonstration for using the kneaded eraser. It gives you an idea of what it could look like. Oh, I just saw something.